Hello, everybody. Here we are back again with another live stream about Vecto, which is going to be released next Monday. And this is one of the new sounds. As you can hear, it has a very slow attack. Okay, let's see how the stream is going. By the way, if you would miss this stream, you always can watch it back in the playlist called live stream. So, because it's here 8 o'clock in the Netherlands, but it could be that it is 8 o'clock in the morning in your country. So that's why we always put it in the playlist called live stream. So on the right side I have my laptop. I need to check now if I can see the chat room. Enable. Okay. Oh, that's difficult. 1 second please. I have to check YouTube. It's a bit difficult for me to get my own channel here visible so that I can see the chat room. Yes. Okay. Sounds like cream. Yeah, well, it's one of the wine glasses of my wife from upstairs. Okay, let's kill the audio here. With the finger on top of it, combined with a vocal, a bit hiss-like vocal. And this together, you get the sound. Hey Sebastian, cool to see you also here. Hi, Richard, Tonal Axis, Gert, yeah, nice people that you join in. Yeah, as you can see now, it's almost ready to go. What we are doing now is doing some final stuff. We're waiting on the manual, which we get tomorrow morning, and in the meantime, I'm creating some presets. And this one is a new one from the Pets Bank. It's called Glimmervox. Uses 2 oscillators and no filters at all, by the way. So it's also very CPU friendly, this preset. And then it goes to FX1, which is a phaser and a delay. Well, the pitch bend I can use here. Let's see, you can see that on to increase the speed of this phaser. And the modulation wheel I can use to make even the attack even slower. So yeah, this is a nice patch. I even could make a variation, I think, if I put the attack back here and maybe add a bit of a get a little bit of Bach sound. Okay, but let's go to some other banks. Here's the bank manager, of course, and yeah, Richard is inside the chat room, and Richard was also very involved in developing Vecto, also known as Tonal Axis, and he created also some new patches. And let's play a few of them, of the new ones. So in total, we have now 112 presets by Richard. And for the rack extension users, of course, you also will be updated very soon with Vecto, which the new presets, but also 2 other things, which I will mention in a second. This is a rhythm sound because you can re-trigger here the oscillators. So rhythm sounds are very, very good possible. I think from the new presets are like, I'm not sure if it was one of the new ones, it's Wonderland. Okay, so it sounds a bit of flute, a type of flute sound. Very nice patch by Richard. Let me see, there's another one which you see, I have give it a star here, and that's a nice system, which we also have in Predator 2, Sub-Boom Bass 2, and also in Raw Kicks, that you can give a preset a star, and then you always can find it back a bit easier if you like this preset. It's more stabbing sound. Okay, and let's go to Ages. Okay, I mute sometimes my microphone because otherwise you hear me playing. I have the microphone in front of me, and it notice you get some bleeding noise of my keyboard playing. Okay, there should be another one. Oh, I'm looking here. That one I had already. There was another nice pad sound which I played from Richard. Why? Most likely I forgot to put that in. Yeah, it's a lot of stuff. We also have new stuff by Diction. Let me play you a few of them. He has over 100 new presets. He also reworked his original presets. And in the original presets, there were a few really very nice presets. Let's play this one. This one needs a bit of volume correction, so I need to fix this one. There's more an FX sound, but it could be cool, of course, if you do some film score or maybe music for a game. So this I added here. Then in the Bank 2, there was one which was very interesting. It was string theory. I pronounced that wrongly, but it's a very nice patch. Yeah, you really notice that one of the strong points of Vecto are the pad sounds. If you go to the FX part, I have some sounds which are very interesting. This is the factory Vecto called, which is nice as a FX sound in a movie or whatever, or well, this one uses a tube sample, which I sampled from a plastic tube. A family relative was doing some construction work, and he had a plastic tube, and I dropped that one, and it produced an interesting sound. So I took the microphone and that is the tube which is inside Vecto. Yeah, you also can hear that we have in FX2 a reverb of very high quality. It's really top notch, the same code we use of Predator 2 and in Subboom Bass 2. And we also will update the rack extension with this newer reverb code. So this is dry, still cool. And now I add the reverb here, down here. Yeah, somebody just mentioned that you can do some reverse. Yeah, you can reverse a sample. If a sample is on board, you can reverse it. It's, okay, let's play a few more of these. Yeah, I love this type of sound. Very easy, spooky. You cannot point what it is. It's yeah, and one of the powerful things of Vecto, of course, you have everything in front. I mean, the arpeggiator is not as extensive as the Predator 2 arpeggiator, but that's because Vecto is based on the rack extension, and with rack extension you have a certain format you need to keep in that size, and if something is full, the size is full, then yeah, you don't have room for other stuff. But that doesn't make it less interesting. It's you do other stuff with this type of synthesizers, and some would say, okay, I miss, for instance, distortion. Yeah, we don't have distortion on board. It's not there. But what you can do, which I did today, is, for instance, use FM synthesis to making more of these distorted sounds. Where it is. Yeah, and what is the secret of this one? Well, this one uses the other oscillators which modulate oscillator 2. And instead of using a sine waveform, I use the square, so then you get really this distorted sound. So more a distortion guitar type of thing. I put there a bit of flanger on, and then you have a very nice distorted type of sounds. But I also had this one. Give me 1 second. I go back to, I'm using the arpeggiator combined. You see here on the arpeggiator down here, you can put on off steps. You can control the velocity. It's a basic arpeggiator, but still, by just shutting down certain steps, you still can do a lot of nice grooves with it. So yeah, another sound I made is, for instance, this. I call it, that's of course a joke, or a how you call that again? I don't know. It's a little hint to the original D50, and this preset is called Vecto 2019. So it's a bit like a D50 type of sound. So this is a combination of simply saw waves and a FX17, which is percussion sound. And that combined, okay, let me play another sound which I made. So there is a range of samples on board, really focusing on synth sounds. So don't expect a piano, but for instance, you have a xylophone type stuff. And this one is combined with a valve, and a valve is essentially also a sample what I did with a tube, but hitting it. So now you combine a xylophone with the other sample, and you can add to it another waveform, whatever you want, or another type of sample. So it's a very creative machine. Now, you're not limited to the traditional synthesizer waveforms. So there's some very nice pan flutes on board for people who like to do some ambient music and stupid keyboard you hear playing. Okay, I mute the microphone now. Yeah, as you can hear, the reverb adds really a great quality to it. And of course, these are all my own samples. And one guy with a pan flute played it here. And so it's not a rip-off of something somewhere. It's really original Rob Papen material. And yeah, that's also what you hear. Even if you play it dry, you can really hear that it is recorded in my studio here, which is a very dry studio. And of course, the reverb finishes this sound off. So that's on board, but also weird stuff. I mean, if you go to the FX section, let me see where it was. Nope, no idea. This is the well, actually, what you hear now is a boil. I had this. Maybe I should next week. I should show it. It's a. We were on an island in Netherlands, and they had a little nice shop, and they had this boil where you can put in your fruit, bananas or whatever. And I hit it. It had a very good sound, and I also recorded it by going around with it with a stick. So that is what you hear. So it's very interesting for also different type of things, and it has different filter types. So when I go here to pads again, this is let me see where it is. I wanted to show something. Oh, it's a synth sound. It is. Sorry, wrong bank. This is a new sound. Actually, it's a sample of vocals, choir, but on this choir I did the vowel filter, which is up here. You see the vowel filter with the frequency, and then the XY, the Y movement is used to control this vowel. So listen to this. So it's a bit funny. If I put away the vowel filter, you will notice that it's a very strong filter. So this is without the filter. Then you got normal choir. And the vowel filter really changes the sound a lot. So in terms of synthesis, you can do some weird stuff on these samples. So if I would take here, let's say, a different type of sample. This metal stuff is also cool. Oops, that's a bit loud. You get so more spooky sound. And I would combine that with another waveform. Let's see if I can take a classic waveform. So yeah, this is more, sounds a bit like a vocoder, isn't it? So a lot of features are possible. Of course, pad sounds is a very strong point. I made this one today, which is very nice if you like to have in a normal track strings, so the classic strings, but I add a bit of synthesizer strings below it to give it a different body. So let me play this string. So you hear a nice reverb. So if I put off the strings, which is oscillator 3, you only hear oscillator 1 and 2, which is the pad sound below it. So combined together with the strings, you get really a very full sounding body string sound. If I put off the oscillator 1 and 2, you hear only the strings, the original strings. Could also be used for, but by adding 1 and 2, yeah, a bit more body. And based on these strings, I made a few variations, which are very little difference in terms of texture. Number 2 and number 3 is, you hear in the high end different. And by the way, you can see this sound is very direct, but if you want to make some ambient music, we have some cool feature, because here you see this button linear. That means that the decay and release will be linear. Then the linear is very nice for pad sound. So the attack is already linear, so let's make a very slow attack. Even slower. And making the release a bit longer, then you really have a very nice ambient sound. So just by tweaking the amplifier attack, decay and release, the attack and release, yeah, you can make already some very interesting variations on a pad. Nice, isn't it? So these are inside of it a few new pads. Let me see if I have some more. Ambient Shine, that's a nice one. That's a, or is that the wrong one? Let me see. No, that's the wrong one. Glimmer Vox, that's the one I was seeking. This is a nice one. It uses a Vox sample, and this again, this wine glass combined. Okay, I mute my microphone again. Oh, this was the sound which I played in the beginning. And of course, all are on high quality sampled. I mean, in the early hardware synthesizers, they had to reduce the sample rate to get everything fit in, let's say, 4 megabyte. But of course, with a computer, we don't have this problem. We have all on high sample rates, which makes that the sound is very good over and stays very visible, or very cuts through in the mix. That's maybe a better word for it. So, oh, here's the real strings slow. That one already did with the very slow. Okay, so let's go to the rhythm sounds. There I also made some, not that many presets currently in rhythm sounds, but you can do some interesting things. So construct C, let's see what that one is. So now I show you a very cool feature about the oscillators. So I shut down number 4 and number 2. Number 1 is a rhythm sound, but the volume of this oscillator is controlled by free LFO2. I connect this here. Free LFO2, here it is, this one. It's tempo synced, and then it controls the volume. So this oscillator 1 is up down in volume, but it does also something else. It does retrigger. So it retriggers on 1/8 note. So that's a really, so QB stands for quantized beat. So 1/8 quantized beat is it restarting. Now the second oscillator has also, but a different waveform, different sample, also has a retriggering. You hear that? And then I have number 4, which is this one. Really eerie sound, and that one is combined together. You get this. And of course it's tempo based, so this is construct C. I have a few of them. And you see this one, oscillator 3, is a normal square waveform, which goes to the filter and does a wobble stuff. Of course, these are pretty experimental stuff, but sometimes you need something weird in your construction or your song, or maybe in audio video work, game stuff, whatever. And just by shutting down one of the oscillators, you also can say, okay, this wobble, I don't need the wobbles. Then you shut down oscillator 3, and you have only the rhythm stuff. So yeah, you see a lot of stuff going on. I don't know how many presets are in the shipment. That's a good question. But let me check here the chat room, if everybody can follow me a bit. Okay, somebody said thank you for Rockic. Yeah, Rockic is a very nasty machine, isn't it? Especially for the people who are doing hardcore, hardstyle, raw style. But I think also for EDM it's very, very useful. It has some very powerful features inside of it. So yeah, everybody hello. And yeah, as mentioned, Vecto will be released next Monday, and if you have already the Explore 5 bundle, then yeah, you only have to download the Explore 5 bundle again Monday. You also could decide to only to download then Vecto. You need to go down in the download page of Explore 5, and then you need to download Vecto. But please check that you use the correct serial number. So then you need to use the Explore 5 serial number to install Vecto. But because we always deliver 2 serials, please check if you have the correct serial on that particular computer, because we offer a serial for your main computer, and many producers have a second computer, a laptop, what they have while they travel. So we also deliver a second serial, but don't mess them up, then you get a problem. If you're not sure which serial you are using on that particular computer, it's better to download the Explorer 5. Okay, so I'm checking in the chat room. Yeah, it's Sebastian did mention the reverse sample. I must say, Sebastian, I almost did forget to use it myself. It's indeed a nice feature, and of course I need to be ready with the presets tomorrow. So maybe I'll try myself also to do a preset by using this feature. I also made today, but that was purely for the fun, a it's called, everybody knows the mellotron, so it's called mellotron alike. And what I did is I used the string sample, but I throwed it in a bandpass filter so that it gets a bit band limited in terms of frequencies. So hit the wrong note, but you know this song? So you see, this bandpass filter really makes it so this typical mellotron sound. So that was a thing I did also today. This one we did last week, I believe. This was the CS80 type of sound using this 12 dB low pass filter with choirs. Yeah, nice. Really big bombastic sound. Let me see. Yeah, hit one note. What was that again? I think that has to do with the chord memory, which is here. You can also memorize a chord. It works different than in Predator 2 or in Bluetooth because it's based on the rack extension. And so you need to pick the note, detune it, and pan it, and then pick another note and detune and pan it to make the setting. So when I go here off, then you have the normal sound. Now, if I want to make a chord 3, okay, chord 3, that's so 3 notes, then I need to pick the first. It's the root key, so that would not change. That's the second one I need to change, of course. And then I can pan it and note 3. So it works a bit different if you want to construct a note. You see, of course, in the upper screen here, the readout, you can see the value. This is 15 semi for the third note. The second note, if I look up there, is 1 octave higher. And the first note should be, of course, the root key set by note, which means it's the note you play. So essentially, number one, we maybe should not display because it's the root. But of course, we can do this in an update, call it root, and keep the semi just on the. But this way, you can really make some interesting things, and you can strum it. And strum it means that the notes are not played at the same time, but afterward, just like a guitar, and you can also do it tempo synced. There are quite some presets with this, and of course we must not forget Jamal has also some great presets inside Vecto, and if I'm not wrong, we also get some new presets for the release for Vecto. So also from Jamal we get some cool new stuff. Let's play a few of his presets. Yeah, you can see some very nice patches. I might do a little trick to see. Give me 1 second, please. Um, yeah, I think we face over 1,000 presets in total in the next release. So there's a lot of fun inside of this machine. And yeah, you see it has two filters, and to edit the filters, you need to select 1 and 2 here, because that's based on the rack extension. Here you select the type of filter, and you see you have a lot of type of filters we have on board. And then there's a routing. You can say from filter 1 to filter 2, or go from filter 2 directly to, for instance, not only to FX1, but also to directly to FX2, to skip FX1. So that makes that we have something new here, which is down here, which is called root, which we also add in the rack extension. So let me check if I can show you this with a nice preset. You see here, very powerful, because you can combine synthesis together. It's samples with this. Also, the 3 and 4 is a synth sound, and you combine that with the glass samples. But what is done here in FX2, you see here routing is reverb delay. You got a routing which is called single. Then FX2 is just one single FX, but you also can have delay reverb. Then it first goes into the delay, which you can edit here, and then goes into the reverb. Or you can say go into the reverb, and then after this the delay. So this is an additional new feature, which makes that essentially you can have 3 FX in series in Vecto. So FX2 has delay, stereo delay, or reverb. Now, if you think, okay, this is a stereo delay, if you think, okay, where is the mono delay now? Well, mono delay means that you got left and right the same value, and then you have a mono delay. So don't seek the mono delay, simply keep then left and right the same value, and you have a mono delay. So so this is new in the this newer version. And what I did mention, we have now this improved reverb code, which you also use in Predator 2, Sunboom Bass 2, Go 2, which is of course top notch. And so if I click back here again on original, I have again this original preset. Good. Let's see. Let's see if I'm checking here in the yeah, somebody is asking, is this a new synth? Yeah, well, not really. It's we made for a rack extension, especially this synthesizer, which is called Vecto. And it's a rack extension for the propeller head reason users. And some people did see on YouTube the video about this synthesizer, and we did get very regular the requests, oh, would you not make this one a VST or audio unit or AAX version, because yeah, they like the synthesizer. And so that's how it happened. And now we had the time to create it, and yeah, and in the meantime we did some extra presets. What I did mention, we have the FX2 improved with a better reverb and an additional routing, but essentially it's based on this rack extension, and it's a very nice synthesizer, especially if you like pad sounds, and it's a cool combination of traditional synthesizer waveforms combined with a very good range of top quality samples which are on board. So it's part of the Explorer 5 bundle. So maybe if you have already 1 or 2 or maybe 3 raw Papen products, you always can upgrade to Explorer 5. But if you think, okay, no, I just want to have Vecto, yeah, it's going to be $99, 99 euros, which is a very fair price for a top-notch synthesizer with over 1,000 presets. So I think it's a steal for what you get, for sure, in terms of audio quality. And of course, I have a lot of fun myself creating the presets. One of the cool thing is, of course, everything is in front, so there's no multiple pages where you have to go. So it's maybe you think, yeah, well, it's not as deep as Blue 2, for instance, or Predator 2, but that is not always needed to get some great sounds. And sometimes this works a bit faster because you don't have to switch panels. So everything is in front, and the only alternative page there is the manager page, where you can, of course, check the presets, what I do regular. I toggle between them. And there is the back panel, and the back panel is here. Here you find some additional controls. You can use alternative pitching tables. Big screen, by the way, this is the big screen version I'm using now. So in the release, we already have the big screen version. If you have a big monitor, you can go in big size. You see, you can filter out MIDI program change, computer up down, which you can use to go from one preset to another. So if I go back here, click on the logo, and you go to the bank manager, you see I can use the up down. Here you see my finger. Maybe here is the keyboard. Up down of the computer keyboard, and even left right if you are in the bank manager to select a preset. So, but if you don't like that, you can put it off. So there are some basic stuff here, and so essentially 3 pages, and the main page is, of course, this one and the manager page. Up here is the readout. So if you go over a dial, you can see the value of it, and everything is MIDI latchable. So if you have a MIDI controller, you can MIDI latch to MIDI, right mouse click, latch to MIDI, you turn the dial and you can MIDI latch. And of course we will make Vecto Anchor S compatible. You see here native instrument, complete control keyboard. Not in the first release because it takes a bit of time to create the Anchor S version, but it will be also Anchor S compatible in a couple of weeks. So if you have machine or complete control, Vecto will pop up also for you. And Vecto will be also available for Prisma, of course. The Prisma, the synthesizer in where you can stack the raw Papen instruments. And this is going to be updated very soon. Maybe also already next week. Okay. Let's see in the chat room if there are still some questions. Yeah, somebody does mention LA synthesis. Yeah, it looks a bit... you can compare it a bit with a wave station. I think also with the Prophet VS, with this Vector thing here. Only, in this one you can record it, and of course it's a different range of samples on board. The D50, so if I go to the synth sounds, had also synthesized waveforms, but combined with a starting sample, and that type of sounds, of course, with a bell start, you also can make in Vecto. Of course, it's not similar to the D50. That I would find very boring. I never do that because then you better, if you really want to have the D50, you better take a D50. But it's very similar in the way this produces sound. You have a sample and you combine this with synthesizer waveforms, which is in this sound. Um, Somebody asked, yeah, it's not yet compatible with the NNCAS controller. If you use any other controller, you always can make your own setup. So, for instance, if you have another one, a keyboard from Novation or Arturia or whatever, they send out these dials as controllers. So, if you want to have this filter here, MIDI latch, you can make your own setup. You say here, you go right mouse button, and you do a latch to MIDI. Okay, latch to MIDI, and it doesn't move. So I'm doing something wrong, or I discovered a bug. Oh no, this is logic. It's this one is stuck now to another instrument. Okay, because one second, I need to do it different because now it's in its own complete control mode. Okay, let's see if I can. Okay, now you see the keyboard in normal mode, and then let's MIDI latch. So if you have a regular keyboard with MIDI controls, right mouse, latch to MIDI, and you see there it moves. So, and if you make a nice setup, you go up here and save your setup. So if you have a certain keyboard, you can keep your own setup and save it. Well, what I did in the past, very regular, I have an older Virus B. Here it is. And I use the filter and the envelopes to control the software synthesizer with, which is very handy because sometimes it's nice to have especially with the filter or the envelopes, to feel, to give it a more feeling, more touch to it. And it works very fast. So I use this one very often to MIDI control and even create sound. So then you have really dials in connection with the software synthesizer. So if you make a setup, you can really save this setup. So, and then it saves it on the hard disk, and you always can exchange it to another system or whatever. So that's always possible. You could just press the MIDI key on. Okay, that's a good tip. I didn't notice that. I had, of course, here. Okay, sorry. I had here. Okay, let me pick it here. Other. Let's do this because I had complete control. And you see here complete control. You can say, take for instance, punch. Then I load punch, and then when I went to this other track, indeed, oh, now it jumps over. That's funny. Maybe it's down to me. Okay. Yeah, Vecto. Yeah, the main point. Somebody says, does it have basses, leads? Yeah, on its own. It's I think it has the focus mainly on these typical Vecto sounds, synth sounds. So for EDM, I think dance music, not that much, and of course there are some basses on board. Let's see if I play. So I will play a few. So also basses are on board. Yeah, lead sounds. I think the synth lead sounds. Yeah, these pan flute type of stuff. But it depends on your style of music. I played them a bit earlier. I think especially for I think not that much for dance music, although they use, of course, also pads and that kind of stuff. But in terms of lead sounds, there are not many presets on board which are typically EDM. Audition has a few nasty, more type of lead sound. So there's plenty on board. Of course, it's each its own taste. He also has some basses. Okay, so what I have here in the ambient bank, yeah, space trumpet. So for this more sweet sounds, I think so I really think this is more for the synthesizer lover, classic synthesizer sounds. It's not a raw synthesizer, and that's of course good because raw has a different focus than Vecto. And that makes, I think, the catalog what we have with the current product line with Go to raw kick, Predator, subboom bass. Each has its own focus, and that's the case with each synthesizer. Each synthesizer has its strong point and weak points. And if somebody would say, well, the Minimoog, does the Minimoog have a weak point? Yeah, for instance, the Minimoog is not polyphonic. You only can play one note. So there's always something which is, and for instance, the Minimoog doesn't have, it's behind here, it doesn't have any presets. So you have a great sound, you may have a great lead sound, and you cannot store it. So, but on the other hand, then the sound is never twice the same, which is then also cool. So every advantage has its disadvantage, or every disadvantage has also its advantage. These are words from the famous Dutch soccer player Cruyff. He always said that. He said each disadvantage has an advantage, and he's totally right about that. So here are a few other lead sounds. Let me see where it is. I'm looking for the space trumpet. Where is it? It is hiding. Very nice sound. And then you can hear that the saw wave form, which is inside Vector, has a very high, rich harmonics. It's not a sample, it's really a generated, coded saw wave form. So nice reverb on it, and I believe I combined it also with a other. So it's let me see if I have another sound for you. Yeah, even a Klaus Schulze pad I made inside of it. Klaus Schulze Choir. Let's see how that one sounds again. Okay, somebody has a nice question. Yeah, what's the advantage of if you already have Predator 2? Yeah, Vecto does very much different sounds. So these are very nice combined together. I mean, in Predator 2, you don't get these type of sounds, which, let's play this one. Quiet type of things. Yesterday I played a sound which I was so excited about the sound, but I forgot which one it was again. Was it beach strings? No. So here it uses, that's the difference with Predator 2. Predator 2 has all additive waveforms and traditional computer-generated analog modeled waveforms like it saw. But it doesn't have a range of samples, and Vecto has a range of samples, and you can combine that with the traditional waveforms, and that makes that you get some very, very different sounds. So Vecto is really a nice addition to Predator 2 to have some different sounds. Beach strings this was. Yeah, indeed, it's the oscillators. You see the range of waveforms. Let's see it. You have analog waveforms, then you get additive waveforms, then you get spectrum waveforms, which are fantasy digital waveforms, and then you get a range of samples. And these you combine together with the 4 oscillators. Telling the story in a second, is if I go to the default patch, okay, I take here a waveform, waveform. Second oscillator, I take, for instance, a choir type of sound. Oscillator 3, I take a additive type of sound. And oscillator 4, I take something else again. Now, this is the default preset. Then I say here vector on, and the vector on means that I can use this dot here to go mix between these 4 oscillators. Of course, I need to put them on. All are on. So oscillator 1 has this saw waveform. Oscillator 2, choir sample. Oscillator 4, spectrum. And 4, strings. And of course I can use it this way, but of course I can also record it and replay. And this is how you could make a moving sound in Vecto. So yeah, it's clear now for Chris. Perfect. So you really do different stuff with it. And what we also did inside the oscillators is that you can re-trigger each oscillator, which makes that you can, without the arpeggiator, you can make some rhythm stuff type of things. Here I show them. Let's see. 4 oscillators, and the first oscillator is a kind of pot sound, percussion, and down here you see re-trigger. It re-triggers on one quarter beat, quantized beat. Each has its own routing, the oscillators, and you can have also volume control. And the way it is built up is because it was originally a rec extension. So the way this synthesizer is built up is very different than what we, for instance, would do if we would make it basically a VST, because then you do a bit in a different way. But that is also the power of Vecto, because everything is in front, and because of the rec extension, we had to make decisions. Should we do to get this? Should we do to? Yeah. Oh no, it doesn't fit because you have a certain rec size. It's just like a rack. Rack is rec size. So we had to leave out things, but we also did some interesting new ideas, and that's what I always mention. Limitation makes people creative, and that's the same for me. So if I took the rec extension, we discussed this also with Richard, who is a very known in the rec extension layout, what you can do and what you not can do. Of course, together with John Iris, and finally, Vecto was born as rec extension. And then these little ideas like re-triggering the oscillators makes that you can do some very different type of sounds. By the sound effects, I believe I used this also. Let me see where it is. Was it this one? Here it is the case that oscillator 3 comes in with a delay of half a bar. Good question. Can the start point for the sample be modulated? I'm not sure about that. There is oscillator 1 offset. Okay, let's try this, because most likely the point is, of course, if you start moving the sample start, you always need to hit a zero crossing, otherwise you get a click. So I go back to the default patch, and it's a good point, good question. So I take here one of these samples. Let me see one which has a very pole. This pole. It's a pole sample, and a friend of mine has in front of his house, this pole, this metal pole. So I sampled it, tuned it. Okay, so this is the pole, and let's see what we can do. I go to, I use offset. Offset is a source to change the parameter. So it offsets the parameter, the destination. So now I go oscillator 1, offset. Yeah, you can change it. But if you modulate it, of course, you never know if you hit a... So that's the question, of course, if you modulate it, if you don't have some artifacts. But you could try it out, of course. But there is always the option to, for instance, re-trigger here or delay it. You can reverse it, reverse. Yeah, there's a lot of possible with the synthesizer. It's a lot of hidden cool things inside of it. Okay. Let me see. I thought that this one. Yeah, I thought that this one also uses. Yeah, I mean, it's up to you how to experiment with it. So you can change the start point of the sample if you want it. Actually, in the background, this is done with the odd sample. So if you go, but that is something which I did in the background. Then you have, so let's go a bit deep. If you would take here the big samples, which are more multi-layer ones. You hear this one. Originally, it's this. So internally, I moved indeed the start point, and then you get this odd strings, which has a different start point. Only I did set it this way that it starts on a zero cross, so that you don't hear a click. So yeah, but you can do it. So as just shown, you can, if you want, especially maybe if you do some reverse stuff, it can be very handy. So this is the range of samples. A lot of it is fantasy. This is water. Recorded here. Okay, sample and hold. Yeah, somebody asks, you add your own samples. No, that's not possible. We had, of course, this question many times with Bluetooth. But what we notice is that, let's say, 99% of our users are using the presets and tweak a bit the presets, but don't sample themselves that much. And that will be something for in a future version to be added, but there is not that much demand for it. People really like to have more ready sounds inside of it. And I think that it will not appear in Vecto, but maybe more someday in Bluetooth, because Bluetooth has so many additional things that we keep Bluetooth for doing, let's say, everything. So that's the main point, is that, yeah, there are already some great samples inside of it, but the demand for people using their own samples in these synthesizers is not that big. Sample and hold. Okay, let's go. Of course, I need to mention about the sample and hold. You need, of course, not forget the other feature what we have, which is the XY pad. Now I'm looking for a sound which shows this. Because, yeah, this is of course on noise, but you can use also the XY as a sample and hold machine. So let me take here a then you can even control it. That's even more fun. So wave. Now you have the XY, and now it's to the filter frequency. It's connected, so it controls the. If you press edit, you can edit it. So the XY pad is really also a very good modulator. And if you would have a beat, I don't have a beat, I think. Let me see if something is playing. I don't think so. Let's see. So the cool thing is here you have poly mode. Each note has its own. Then you have mono mode. When I do mono mode, then the note I play starts again. So this is a kind of super modulator, which has far more control than using a LFO with sample and hold. Of course, that is still possible, but yeah, then here you can, now you have 8 steps. We can go up to 32 steps, and what I use here is time quantize in the movement, space quantize. Yeah, in terms of that, it's a lot of possible. And of course, you need the X and Y, you need to address. And you see it's not used in the vector mode because the vector mode means that it uses the four oscillators. I was looking for one sound, but synth sound. I think it's here maybe. No. Yeah, I lost it. I made a nice sound with this vector moving thing. Maybe it was in paths. No. Okay, but yeah, so the XY, even if the arpeggiator is used, you can use the vector. Then if you put on the XY, let me show it. Synth sounds. Okay, I just put on the arpeggiator. And of course I put here some extra waveforms just for the fun. I can use the vector on and use here, for instance, this movement, and then make it free, then the replay. So in the up mode, normally I think it would be the case that if you have the vector on, it would jump automatically to free. And if I hit the note keyboard, it starts at the 0, so it's always on the time. So then you can use let's see if I can use another sample here. And the cool thing is you have speed control. So if I could say MIDI pitch band and use the pitch band to increase this speed from this movement here, which is now set to, let's set it to 1 bar. So now it moves in 1 bar. So yeah, coming back, Chris, to the modulation, the LFOs are down here, but if you really want to do some cool MIDI time-based stuff, the XY is really a total great thing to use. Okay, guys, it's already 1 hour 40 minutes. Amazing how time flies. Yeah, so next Monday, keep an eye on it. We also will have a demo version. Demo version only will have the introduction bank, so not all presets. And it's a great synthesizer with high quality sounds, very nice presets, yeah, and fun to play with. So anyhow, thank you guys for watching. And if you missed this, maybe you are late to the live stream, you can always watch it because I put it in the playlist live stream, and then you can watch it back. Thank you for watching and see you next time.